2 Kings chapter 8. Now Elisha had spoken to the woman whose son he had restored to life, saying, "Arise and go, you and your household, and stay for a while, wherever you can. For Yahweh has called for a famine. It will also come on the land for 7 years." The woman arose and did according to the man of God's word. She went with her household and lived in the land of the Philistines for 7 years. At the end of 7 years, the woman returned from the land of the Philistines. Then she went out to beg the king for her house and for her land. Now the king was talking with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God, saying, "Please tell me all the great things that Elisha has done." As he was telling the king how he had restored to life him who was dead, behold, the woman whose son he had restored to life begged the king for her house and for her land. Gehazi said, "My lord, O king, this is the woman, and this is her son, whom Elisha restored to life." When the king asked the woman, she told him. So the king appointed to her a certain officer, saying, "Restore all that was hers, and all the fruits of the field since the day that she left the land, even until now." Elisha came to Damascus, and Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, was sick. He was told, "The man of God has come here." The king said to Hazael, "Take a present in your hand and go meet the man of God and inquire of Yahweh by him, saying, 'Will I recover from this sickness?'" So Hazael went to meet him and took a present with him, even of every good thing of Damascus, 40 camels' burden, and came and stood before him and said, "Your son Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, has sent me to you, saying, 'Will I recover from this sickness?'" Elisha said to him, "Go tell him, you will surely recover. However, Yahweh has shown me that he will surely die." He settled his gaze steadfastly on him until he was ashamed. Then the man of God wept. Hazael said, "Why do you weep, my lord?" He answered, "Because I know the evil that you will do to the children of Israel. You will set their strongholds on fire, and you will kill their young men with the sword, and will dash their little ones in pieces, and rip up their pregnant women." Hazael said, "But what is your servant, who is but a dog, that he should do this great thing?" Elisha answered, "Yahweh has shown me that you will be king over Syria." Then he departed from Elisha and came to his master, who said to him, "What did Elisha say to you?" He answered, "He told me that you would surely recover." On the next day he took a thick cloth, dipped it in water, and spread it on the king's face, so that he died. Then Hazael reigned in his place. In the 5th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat being king of Judah then, Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 32 years old when he began to reign. He reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. He walked in the way of the kings of Israel, as did Ahab's house, for he married Ahab's daughter. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight. However, Yahweh would not destroy Judah for David his servant's sake, so he promised to give him a lamp for his children always. In his days, Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah and made a king over themselves. Then Joram crossed over to Zair, and all his chariots with him, and he rose up by night and struck the Edomites who surrounded him with the captains of the chariots, and the people fled to their tents. So Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah to this day. Then Libnah revolted at the same time. The rest of the acts of Joram and all that he did, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? Joram slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in David's city, and Ahaziah, his son, reigned in his place. In the 12th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, began to reign. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel. He walked in the way of Ahab's house, and did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight, as did Ahab's house, for he was the son-in-law of Ahab's house. He went with Joram the son of Ahab to war against Hazael, king of Syria, at Ramoth-Gilead, and the Syrians wounded Joram. King Joram returned to be healed in Jezreel from the wounds which the Syrians had given him at Ramah, when he fought against Hazael, king of Syria. Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Joram the son of Ahab in Jezreel, because he was sick. 2 Kings chapter 9. Elisha the prophet called one of the sons of the prophets and said to him, "Put your belt on your waist, take this vial of oil in your hand, and go to Ramoth-Gilead. When you come there, find Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, and go in and make him rise up from among his brothers, and take him to an inner room. Then take the vial of oil and pour it on his head, and say, 'Yahweh says, I have anointed you king over Israel.' Then open the door, flee, and don't wait." So the young man, the young prophet, went to Ramoth-Gilead. When he came, behold, the captains of the army were sitting. Then he said, "I have a message for you, captain." Jehu said, "To which one of us?" he said. "To you, O captain." He rose and went into the house. Then he poured the oil on his head and said to him, "Yahweh, the God of Israel, says, I have anointed you king over the people of Yahweh, even over Israel. You must strike your master Ahab's house, that I may avenge the blood of my servants, the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of Yahweh at the hand of Jezebel. For the whole house of Ahab will perish. I will cut off from Ahab everyone who urinates against a wall, both him who is shut up and him who is left at large in Israel. I will make Ahab's house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahijah. The dogs will eat Jezebel on the plot of ground of Jezreel, and there shall be no one to bury her." Then he opened the door and fled. When Jehu came out to the servants of his lord, and one said to him, "Is all well? Why did this madman come to you?" He said to them, "You know the man and how he talks." They said, "That is a lie. Tell us now." He said to me, "Yahweh says, I have anointed you king over Israel." Then they hurried, and each man took his cloak and put it under him on the top of the stairs, and blew the trumpet, saying, "Jehu is king." So Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, conspired against Joram. Now Joram was defending Ramoth-Gilead, he and all Israel, because Hazael, king of Syria. But King Joram had returned to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him when he fought with Hazael, king of Syria. Jehu said, "If this is your thinking, then let no one escape and go out of the city to go tell it in Jezreel." So Jehu rode in a chariot and went to Jezreel, for Joram lay there. Ahaziah, king of Judah, had come down to see Joram. Now the watchman was standing on the tower in Jezreel, and he spied the company of Jehu as he came, and said, "I see a company." Joram said, "Take a horseman and send to meet them, and let him say, 'Is it peace?'" So one went on horseback to meet him and said, "The king says, 'Is it peace?'" Jehu said, "What do you have to do with peace? Fall in behind me." The watchman said, "The messenger came to them, but he isn't coming back." Then he sent out a second on horseback, who came to them and said, "The king says, 'Is it peace?'" Jehu answered, "What do you have to do with peace? Fall in behind me." The watchman said, "He came to them and isn't coming back." The driving is like the driving of Jehu, the son of Nimshi, for he drives furiously. Joram said, "Get ready." They got his chariot ready. Then Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, went out, each in his chariot, and they went out to meet Jehu, and found him on Naboth the Jezreelites' land. When Joram saw Jehu, he said, "Is it peace, Jehu?" He answered, "What peace, so long as the prostitution of your mother Jezebel and her witchcraft abound?" Joram turned his hands and fled, and said to Ahaziah, "This is treason, Ahaziah." Jehu drew his bow with his full strength and struck Joram between his arms, and the arrow went out at his heart, and he sunk down in his chariot. Then Jehu said to Bidkar, his captain, "Pick him up and throw him in the plot of the field of Naboth, the Jezreelite. For remember how, when you and I rode together after Ahab his father, Yahweh laid this burden on him? Surely I have seen yesterday the blood of Naboth, and the blood of his sons, says Yahweh. And I will repay you in this plot of ground, says Yahweh. Now therefore, take and cast him onto the plot of ground according to Yahweh's word." But when Ahaziah, the king of Judah, saw this, he fled by the way of the garden house. Jehu followed after him and said, "Strike him also in the chariot." They struck him at the ascent of Gur, which is by Ibleam. He fled to Megiddo and died there. His servants carried him in a chariot to Jerusalem and buried him in his tomb with his fathers in David's city. In the 11th year of Joram the son of Ahab, Ahaziah began to reign over Judah. When Jehu had come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her eyes and adorned her head and looked out at the window. As Jehu entered in at the gate, she said, "Do you come in peace, Zimri, you murderer of your master?" He lifted up his face to the window and said, "Who is on my side? Who?" 2 or 3 eunuchs looked out at him. He said, "Throw her down." So they threw her down, and some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall and on the horses. Then he trampled her underfoot. When he had come in, he ate and drank. Then he said, "See now to this cursed woman, and bury her, for she is a king's daughter." They went to bury her, but they found no more of her than the skull, the feet, and the palms of her hands. Therefore they came back and told him. He said, "This is Yahweh's word, which he spoke by his servant Elijah the Tishbite, saying, The dogs will eat the flesh of Jezebel on the plot of Jezreel, and the body of Jezebel will be as dung on the surface of the field on Jezreel's land, so that they won't say, This is Jezebel." 2 Kings chapter 10. Now Ahab had 70 sons in Samaria. Jehu wrote letters and sent them to Samaria, to the rulers of Jezreel, even the elders, and to those who brought up Ahab's sons, saying, "Now as soon as this letter comes to you, since your master's sons are with you, and you have chariots and horses, a fortified city also, and armor, select the best and fittest of your master's sons. Set him on his father's throne, and fight for your master's house." But they were exceedingly afraid and said, "Behold, the 2 kings didn't stand before him. How then shall we stand?" He who was over the household, and he who was over the city, the elders also, and those who raised the children, sent to Jehu, saying, "We are your servants, and will do all that you ask us. We will not make any man king. You do that which is good in your eyes." Then he wrote a letter the second time to them, saying, "If you are on my side, and if you will listen to my voice, take the heads of the men who are your master's sons, and come to me to Jezreel by tomorrow this time." Now the king's sons, being 70 persons, were with the great men of the city who brought them up. When the letter came to them, they took the king's sons and killed them, even 70 people, and put their heads in baskets and sent them to Jezreel. A messenger came and told him, "They have brought the heads of the king's sons." He said, "Lay them in 2 heaps at the entrance of the gate until the morning." In the morning he went out and stood and said to all the people, "You are righteous. Behold, I conspired against my master and killed him. But who killed all these? Know now that nothing will fall to the earth of Yahweh's word, which Yahweh spoke concerning Ahab's house, for Yahweh has done that which he spoke by his servant Elijah." So Jehu struck all that remained of Ahab's house in Jezreel, with all his great men, his familiar friends, and his priests, until he left no one remaining. He arose and departed and went to Samaria. As he was at the shearing house of the shepherds on the way, Jehu met with the brothers of Ahaziah, king of Judah, and said, "Who are you?" They answered, "We are the brothers of Ahaziah. We are going down to greet the children of the king and the children of the queen." He said, "Take them alive." They took them alive and killed them at the pit of the shearing house, even 42 men. He didn't leave any of them. When he had departed from there, he met Jehonadab, the son of Rechab, coming to meet him. He greeted him and said to him, "Is your heart right, as my heart is with your heart?" Jehonadab answered, "It is." "If it is, give me your hand." He gave him his hand, and he took him up to him into the chariot. He said, "Come with me and see my zeal for Yahweh." So they made him ride in his chariot. When he came to Samaria, he struck all who remained to Ahab in Samaria, until he had destroyed them, according to Yahweh's word, which he spoke to Elijah. Jehu gathered all the people together and said to them, "Ahab served Baal a little, but Jehu will serve him much. Now therefore call to me all the prophets of Baal, all of his worshippers, and all of his priests. Let no one be absent, for I have a great sacrifice to Baal. Whoever is absent, he shall not live." But Jehu did deceptively, intending to destroy the worshippers of Baal. Jehu said, "Sanctify a solemn assembly for Baal." So they proclaimed it. Jehu sent through all Israel, and all the worshippers of Baal came, so that there was not a man left that didn't come. They came into the house of Baal, and the house of Baal was filled from one end to the other. He said to them who kept the wardrobe, "Bring out the robes for all the worshippers of Baal." So he brought robes out to them. Jehu went with Jehonadab, the son of Rechab, into the house of Baal. Then he said to the worshippers of Baal, "Search and see that none of the servants of Yahweh are here with you, but only the worshippers of Baal." So they went in to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings. Now Jehu had appointed for himself 80 men outside, and said, "If any of the men whom I bring into your hands escape, he who lets him go, his life shall be for the life of him." As soon as he had finished offering the burnt offering, Jehu said to the guard and to the captains, "Go in and kill them, let no one escape." So they struck them with the edge of the sword. The guard and the captains threw the bodies out and went into the inner shrine of the house of Baal. They brought out the pillars that were in the house of Baal and burned them. They broke down the pillar of Baal and broke down the house of Baal and made it a latrine to this day. Thus Jehu destroyed Baal out of Israel. However, Jehu didn't depart from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin, the golden calves that were in Bethel and that were in Dan. Yahweh said to Jehu, "Because you have done well in executing that which is right in my eyes, and have done to Ahab's house according to all that was in my heart, your descendants shall sit on the throne of Israel to the 4th generation." But Jehu took no heed to walk in the law of Yahweh, the God of Israel, with all his heart. He didn't depart from the sins of Jeroboam, with which he made Israel to sin. In those days Yahweh began to cut away parts of Israel, and Hazael struck them in all the borders of Israel, from the Jordan eastward, all the land of Gilead, the Gadites, and the Reubenites, and the Manassites, from Aror, which is by the valley of Arnon, even Gilead and Bashan. Now the rest of the acts of Jehu, and all that he did, and all his might, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Jehu slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria. Jehoahaz, his son, reigned in his place. The time that Jehu reigned over Israel in Samaria was 28 years. 2 Kings chapter 11. Now when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the royal offspring. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Ahaziah, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the king's sons who were slain, even him and his nurse, and put them in the bedroom, and they hid him from Athaliah, so that he was not slain. He was with her hidden in Yahweh's house 6 years, while Athaliah reigned over the land. In the 7th year, Jehoiada sent and fetched the captains over hundreds of the Kerites and of the guard, and brought them to him into Yahweh's house, and he made a covenant with them, and made a covenant with them in Yahweh's house, and showed them the king's son. He commanded them, saying, "This is what you must do. A third of you who come in on the Sabbath shall be keepers of the watch of the king's house. A third of you shall be at the gate Sur, and a third of you at the gate behind the guard. So you shall keep watch of the house and be a barrier. The 2 companies of you, even all who go out on the Sabbath, shall keep the watch of Yahweh's house around the king. You shall surround the king, every man with his weapons in his hand, and he who comes within the ranks, let him be slain. Be with the king when he goes out and when he comes in." The captains over hundreds did according to all that Jehoiada the priest commanded, and they each took his men, those who were to come in on the Sabbath with those who were to go out on the Sabbath, and came to Jehoiada the priest. The priest delivered to the captains over hundreds the spears and the shields that had been King David's, which were in Yahweh's house. The guard stood, every man with his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the house to the left side of the house, along by the altar and the house around the king. Then he brought out the king's son and put the crown on him, and gave him the covenant, and they made him king and anointed him. And they clapped their hands and said, "Long live the king!" When Athaliah heard the noise of the guard and of the people, she came to the people into Yahweh's house. And she looked, and behold, the king stood by the pillar, as the tradition was, with the captains and the trumpets by the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced, and blew trumpets. Then Athaliah tore her clothes and cried, "Treason! Treason!" Jehoiada the priest commanded the captains of hundreds who were set over the army, and said to them, "Bring her out between the ranks. Kill anyone who follows her with the sword." For the priest said, "Don't let her be slain in Yahweh's house." So they seized her, and she went by the way of the horses' entry into the king's house, and she was slain there. Jehoiada made a covenant between Yahweh and the king and the people, that they should be Yahweh's people, also between the king and the people. All the people of the land went to the house of Baal and broke it down. They broke his altars and his images in pieces thoroughly, and killed Matan, the priest of Baal, before the altars. The priest appointed officers over Yahweh's house. He took the captains over hundreds, and the Kerites, and the guard, and all the people of the land, and they brought down the king from Yahweh's house, and came by the way of the gate of the guard to the king's house. He sat on the throne of the kings. So all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet. They had slain Athaliah with the sword at the king's house. Jehoash was 7 years old when he began to reign. 2 Kings chapter 12. Jehoash began to reign in the 7th year of Jehu, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zibiah of Beersheba. Jehoash did that which was right in Yahweh's eyes all the days in which Jehoiada the priest instructed him. However, the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed and burned incense in the high places. Jehoash said to the priests, all the money of the holy things that is brought into Yahweh's house, in current money, the money of the people for whom each man is evaluated, and all the money that it comes into any man's heart to bring into Yahweh's house, let the priests take it to them, even each man from his donor, and they shall repair the damage to the house wherever any damage is found. But it was so that in the 23rd year of King Jehoash, the priests had not repaired the damage to the house. Then King Jehoash called for Jehoiada the priest, and for the other priests, and said to them, "Why aren't you repairing the damage to the house? Now therefore take no more money from your treasurers, but deliver it for repair of the damage to the house." The priests consented that they should take no more money from the people and not repair the damage to the house. But Jehoiada the priest took a chest and bored a hole in its lid and set it beside the altar on the right side as one comes into Yahweh's house. And the priests who kept the threshold put all the money that was brought into Yahweh's house into it. When they saw that there was much money in the chest, the king's scribe and the high priest came up, and they put it in bags and counted the money that was found in Yahweh's house. They gave the money that was weighed out into the hands of those who did the work, who had the oversight of Yahweh's house. And they paid it out to the carpenters and the builders who worked on Yahweh's house, and to the masons and the stone cutters, and for buying timber, and cut stone to repair the damage to Yahweh's house, and for all that was laid out for the house to repair it. But there were not made for Yahweh's house cups of silver, snuffers, basins, trumpets, any vessels of gold or vessels of silver, of the money that was brought into Yahweh's house. For they gave that to those who did the work, and repaired Yahweh's house with it. Moreover, they didn't demand an accounting from the men into whose hand they delivered the money to give to those who did the work, for they dealt faithfully. The money for the trespass offerings and the money for the sin offerings was not brought into Yahweh's house. It was the priests. Then Hazael, king of Syria, went up and fought against Gath, and took it. And Hazael set his face to go up to Jerusalem. Jehoash, king of Judah, took all the holy things that Jehoshaphat and Jehoram and Ahaziah, his fathers, kings of Judah, had dedicated, and his own holy things, and all the gold that was found in the treasures of Yahweh's house and of the king's house, and sent it to Hazael, king of Syria, and he went away from Jerusalem. Now, the rest of the acts of Joash and all that he did, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? His servants arose and made a conspiracy and struck Joash at the house of Millo on the way that goes down to Silla. For Josachar, the son of Shimeath, and Jehozabad, the son of Shomer, his servant, struck him, and he died. And they buried him with his fathers in David's city, and Amaziah, his son, reigned in his place. 2 Kings chapter 13. In the 23rd year of Joash, the son of Ahaziah, king of Judah, Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, began to reign over Israel and Samaria for 17 years. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight, and followed the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin. He didn't depart from it. Yahweh's anger burned against Israel, and he delivered them into the hand of Hazael, king of Syria, and into the hand of Ben-Hadad, the son of Hazael, continually. Jehoahaz begged Yahweh, and Yahweh listened to him, for he saw the oppression of Israel, how the king of Syria oppressed them. Yahweh gave Israel a savior, so that they went out from under the hand of the Syrians, and the children of Israel lived in their tents as before. Nevertheless, they didn't depart from the sins of the house of Jeroboam, with which he made Israel to sin, but walked in them. And the Asherah also remained in Samaria. For he didn't leave to Jehoahaz of the people any more than 50 horsemen and 10 chariots, and 10,000 footmen, for the king of Syria destroyed them and made them like the dust in threshing. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoahaz, and all that he did, and his might, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Jehoahaz slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria, and Joash, his son, reigned in his place. In the 37th year of Joash, king of Judah, Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, began to reign over Israel in Samaria for 16 years. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight. He didn't depart from all the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin, but he walked in them. Now the rest of the acts of Joash, and all that he did, and his might with which he fought against Amaziah, king of Judah, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Joash slept with his fathers, and Jeroboam sat on his throne. Joash was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel. Now Elisha became sick with the illness of which he died, and Joash the king of Israel came down to him and wept over him and said, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen. Elisha said to him, take bow and arrows. And he took bow and arrows for himself. He said to the king of Israel, put your hand on the bow. And he put his hand on it. Elisha laid his hands on the king's hands. He said, open the window eastward. And he opened it. Then Elisha said, shoot. And he shot. And he said, Yahweh's arrow of victory, even the arrow of victory over Syria, for you will strike the Syrians in Aphek until you have consumed them. He said, take the arrows. And he took them. He said to the king of Israel, strike the ground. And he struck 3 times and stopped. The man of God was angry with him and said, you should have struck 5 or 6 times. Then you would have struck Syria until you had consumed it. But now you will strike Syria just 3 times. Elisha died, and they buried him. Now the bands of the Moabites invaded the land at the coming in of the year. As they were burying a man, behold, they saw a band of raiders, and they threw the man into Elisha's tomb. As soon as the man touched Elisha's bones, he revived and stood up on his feet. Hazael, king of Syria, oppressed Israel all the days of Jehoahaz. But Yahweh was gracious to them and had compassion on them and favored them because of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and would not destroy them, and he didn't cast them from his presence as yet. Hazael, king of Syria, died, and Ben-Hadad, his son, reigned in his place. Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, took again out of the hand of Ben-Hadad, the son of Hazael, the cities which he had taken out of the hand of Jehoahaz, his father, by war. Joash struck him 3 times and recovered the cities of Israel. 2 Kings chapter 14. In the 2nd year of Joash, son of Joahaz, king of Israel, Amaziah the son of Joash, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jehoaddin of Jerusalem. He did that which was right in Yahweh's eyes, yet not like David his father. He did according to all that Joash his father had done. However, the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places. As soon as the kingdom was established in his hand, he killed his servants who had slain the king his father, but the children of the murderers he didn't put to death, according to that which is written in the book of the law of Moses, as Yahweh commanded, saying, the fathers shall not be put to death for the children, nor the children be put to death for the fathers, but every man shall die for his own sin. He killed 10,000 Edomites in the valley of Salt, and took Selah by war, and called its name Joktheel to this day. Then Amaziah sent messengers to Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, come, Let's look one another in the face. Jehoash, the king of Israel, sent to Amaziah, the king of Judah, saying, The thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, Give your daughter to my son as wife. Then a wild animal that was in Lebanon passed by and trampled down the thistle. You have indeed struck Edom, and your heart has lifted you up. Enjoy the glory of it, and stay at home, for why should you meddle to your harm, that you fall, even you, and Judah with you? But Amaziah would not listen. So Jehoash, king of Israel, went up. And he and Amaziah, king of Judah, looked one another in the face at Beth Shemesh, which belongs to Judah. Judah was defeated by Israel, and each man fled to his tent. Jehoash, king of Israel, took Amaziah, king of Judah, the son of Jehoash, the son of Ahaziah, at Beth Shemesh, and came to Jerusalem. Then broke down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate, 400 cubits. He took all the gold and silver and all the vessels that were found in Yahweh's house, and in the treasures of the king's house, the hostages also, and returned to Samaria. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoash, which he did, and his might, and how he fought with Amaziah, king of Judah, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Jehoash slept with his fathers, and was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel, and Jeroboam, his son, reigned in his place. Amaziah, the son of Joash, the king of Judah, lived after the death of Jehoash, son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, 15 years. Now the rest of the acts of Amaziah, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? They made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent after him to Lachish, and killed him there. They brought him on horses, and he was buried at Jerusalem with his fathers, in David's city. All the people of Judah took Azariah, who was 16 years old, and made him king in the place of his father, Amaziah. He built Elath and restored it to Judah. After that, the king slept with his fathers. In the 15th year of Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, began to reign in Samaria for 41 years. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight. He didn't depart from all the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin. He restored the border of Israel from the entrance of Hamath to the sea of the Arabah, according to Yahweh, the God of Israel's word, which he spoke by his servant Jonah, the son of Amittai, the prophet, who was from Gath Hepher. For Yahweh saw the affliction of Israel, that it was very bitter for all, slave and free, and there was no helper for Israel. Yahweh didn't say that he would blot out the name of Israel from under the sky, but he saved them by the hand of Jeroboam, the son of Joash. Now the rest of the acts of Jeroboam and all that he did and his might, how he fought, and how he recovered Damascus and Hamath, which had belonged to Judah for Israel, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Jeroboam slept with his fathers, even with the kings of Israel, and Zechariah, his son, reigned in his place.